Good morning to all my students. Now let us discuss the chapter planning. There are 5 functions of management. They are planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling. Out of all these functions, planning is the primary function. If there is no planning, we cannot organize or control. What is the meaning of planning? Planning is the process of thinking regarding the activities required to achieve desired goal. So planning is a process. It is a mental process. Planning is an intellectual activity. Planning is done for what purpose? To achieve the goal. So in planning, this word goal is so relevant. Planning is thinking ahead. Planning is of vital importance in business field. Various types of planning includes planning the future sales, future workforce, or if a company is going to enter a new country, planning future course of action, etc. We have to see here, planning is deciding in advance what to do and how to do. Out of 5 managerial functions, it is the primary managerial function. To plan. Why we need creativity and innovation? Planning is an intellectual process. By planning, we are trying to bridge the gap between where we are now and where we want to go in future. Planning is a pervasive function. That means managers of all levels needed to plan. Managers of top level, middle level or supervisory level needs planning. Even though their planning will differ according to their needs. One of the important points which we should understand is taking decision is part of planning, because in planning we are selecting from alternative course of action. For example, a company wants to plan the price of its products. There are different alternatives, whether company should go for premium pricing or discounted pricing or competitive pricing. Out of all these alternatives, company have to select one pricing policy. Let us now learn the importance of planning. There is no need of explanation. All of us know how important planning in an organization, especially in business organization. The major benefits of planning are given below. The first one is planning provides direction. Planning provides direction for action. Planning ensures that the goal or objectives are clearly stated so that they act as a guide for deciding what action should be taken and in which direction. Whenever managers are taking major decisions, they refer to the planning which they have made, or they refer to the past document which is available. For example, while deciding the future budget, the managers will refer the past budget, maybe the budget for last year or budget for last 5 years, etc. Another important benefits of planning. Planning reduces the risk of uncertainty. Business environment is dynamic and there is lots of uncertainty when it comes to market. So to cope up with this uncertainty, managers are planning in all levels. Planning reduces overlapping and wasteful activities. Modern companies are very good at planning in all levels, in all departments. That is why there is very less overlapping activities in their operation. So a new company should know that, or a small company should know that they should be using planning for avoiding any type of duplication of work or wasting resources. Planning promotes innovative ideas. Large companies are so successful because they are coming up with innovative products or innovative production methods or innovative marketing strategies. All this requires planning. Planning facilitates decision making. One of the peculiar problem with decision making is that it has to be made at the right time. So quick planning is required for making the right decision. There are various companies which suffered a lot because of wrong decision making. Companies like Kodak or Nokia lost their market because they did not take right decision at the right time, or they have taken wrong decisions. So all this happened because of lack of proper planning. Planning establishes standard for controlling. As we have discussed, there are 5 functions of planning: planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling. If there is no planning, there is no scope for controlling. And if there is no controlling, there is no point in planning, because controlling means just checking is everything is going as per the plan or not. We have discussed the importance of planning. Now let us discuss various features of planning. Planning focuses on achieving objective. Why we are planning? We are planning so that we can achieve the objective. Every company is having an objective. To achieve that objective, they are making different types of plan at different levels. One of the prerequisites for planning is that there should be a goal or objective. Look at Tesla, which is doing good business now. But what about the future of Tesla? We look here, we can say the trends. In 2030, this trend, this forecast is showing that sales is the total market share is going, it will go down. It is now 66.6%, but by 2030, it may be 21.3%. Any one of you can, is it possible to guess what may be the reason? Maybe is it because of increasing competition, or is it because of any other reason? All of you try to think about that. So, but it is understood that planning focuses on achieving the objectives. Planning is a primary function of management. Out of 5 functions of management, planning is the primary function. If there is no planning, there is no organizing or controlling or directing. Planning is the basis for all other functions of management. Planning is pervasive. This means we can apply plan everywhere. Planning is needed everywhere. Planning is needed in top level, middle level or supervisory level, or planning is needed in a school also, in a government office also, in a business organization also, or non-profit organization also. Everywhere there is a need for planning. Even though planning is required at every levels of the business organization, but it will differ in different levels or in different departments. The top level will plan for the entire organization, but in each department, the department head will plan for their department only. For example, marketing manager will make budget for advertisement only, but the top level there will be a budget for entire organization. Planning is continuous. Planning is needed every day, every month, every quarter or every year. That is why planning is a continuous process. There are some types of plan which can be reused. There are some other plan which we have to use every year, but with some modification. Planning is futuristic. Planning involves looking ahead. Planning is done for future. Now we are in the year 2024. We are now planning the sales of next year, or maybe next month or next quarter. Planning involves decision making. As we discussed before, planning essentially involves choice from among various alternatives and activities. A company have to decide whether we will be advertising using TV, we are advertising in TV or a newspaper or billboard. Which media we will be selecting? There is a choice, isn't it? So we have to take a decision out of all. For that, what is required? Planning. The need for planning arises only when there is alternatives available. Planning is a mental exercise. Planning involves the application of mind, involving foresight, intelligence, imagination, and sound judgment. Basically, planning is an intellectual activity. It requires logical thinking and systematic thinking. So we can say here planning is a mental exercise. Now let us discuss the limitations of planning. What are all the various limitations of planning? Planning leads to rigidity. Plannings are mostly rigid. Once plans are made, it is difficult to modify it. It is sometimes costly or time consuming to modify it, or maybe adding to the confusion. And every time managers are not in a position to change once plan is made. But as we have discussed earlier, business environment is dynamic and lots of unforeseen events may happen. The government policy may change, The taste and preference of the customers may change. The taxation policy may change. And many other changes may happen. Maybe the changes are happening in the field of technology. So in that case, we need to make changes in planning also, our plan also. Planning may not work in dynamic environment, as we discussed earlier. Business environment is dynamic. Nothing is constant. Customers' preferences are changing. If you look at 10 years before and now, the preference of the customers are changing. There is changes in their purchasing power. There are changes in various other elements of macro environment. Like government policy may change. The technology may change. The problem here is that it becomes difficult to accurately assess future trends in the environment if economic policies are modified or political conditions in the country are not stable. Another important thing which makes business world so dynamic is competition. There is cutthroat competition in any field. If you look at automobile market or FMCG market, everywhere there are many established brands. They are competing each other based on price or based on intense promotional activities. Planning reduces creativity. In many companies, especially in small companies, top management is excessively planning, and the role of middle management is to only execute the planning which is made by top management. There are so many good young or old creative managers. They are not getting an opportunity to use their innovative ideas, because once plans are made by top management, middle level managers or supervisors or workers are not allowed to deviate from plans, or they don't have the authority to bring their ideas or suggestion or inculcate that in their planning. Most of the times employees are not part of planning process. Their main job is to execute the plan. So it is resulting in an employees with less creativity since there is no scope for using their creativity. Planning involves huge cost. Planning requires lots of time, and sometimes it requires the time of top management, and it requires sometimes it requires some external experts, and most of the time the cost of planning involves the checking the accuracy of facts, and while in the controlling process the cost will be high. So planning involves huge cost. No need to say planning is a time consuming process. In business world, always we cannot work with intuition, even though there are some great entrepreneurs who became successful with their intuitive thoughts, but we need to plan most of the time, and planning is always time consuming process, and it is consuming top management's time, which they could have spent for other creative inputs. Planning does not guarantee success. Every company plans. Then why some companies are not able to generate profit? Because planning sometimes gives us a false hope that everything will be okay, isn't it? So the success of an enterprise is possible only when plans are properly drawn up and implemented. And formulation of the plan is not enough. What is equally important is execution of the plan. Now let us discuss the planning process. Setting objective. The first step in planning is setting objective. What is meant by plan? We are formulating various activities for achieving the objective, isn't it? If there is no objective, there is no point in planning. Objective may be set for the entire organization, or objective may be made for different departments like marketing, finance, human resource, admin, purchase, etc. An example for objective may be to increase the sales by 20%. That may be an objective of the organization. The second step in planning is developing premises. Why there is a need for developing premises or assumptions? Because planning is made for future and we don't know what is going to happen in future exactly. Future is uncertain. That is why managers are required to make certain assumptions about the future. Suppose Tesla is going to make a plan for 2030, but they need to make some assumptions because we don't know what is going to happen in 2030. What may be the assumptions we are making? The purchasing power of the customers may be same. That may be one assumption. There may be still good demand for electric vehicles. That may be another assumptions which can be made by Tesla. So all managers involved in planning should be familiar with the assumption which the company is making, and they are using same assumptions. Few managers in the marketing department, they assume that in future the purchasing power of consumers in a particular country will go down. But those managers who are in the finance department are believing that the purchasing power of consumers in that country is not going to be affected. In that case, it will affect the final plan. The next important step in planning is identifying alternative course of action. If there is no alternative, there is no plan. So out of all alternative course of action, we have to select the best alternative. If a company wants to advertise, there are different media: TV, newspaper, radio, billboard. These are all different media. So which media they will have to select, that they will have to plan. There are different types of pricing strategies: premium pricing, competitive pricing, skimming pricing. So which pricing strategy we will have to select? There are alternatives. The next important step is evaluating alternative courses. Since there are various alternatives in front of us, we will have to analyze the merits and limitations of different alternative courses. Suppose a company wants to advertise in different media, it has to analyze the positive and negative aspects of each media. TV advertisement will be watched by many viewers. That is the positive aspects. But what is the negative aspect? It is extremely costly at the prime time. When it comes to radio advertisement, what is the positive aspect? It is extremely inexpensive when compared to TV ad. But what is the negative side? It lacks visual, and there is lots of clutter, and nowadays radio advertisement is not popular. Next step is selecting an alternative. So in front of us there are various alternatives. So we cannot select every alternative. One we will have to select. When a customer wants to buy a mobile phone, in his or her mind there are 3 or 4 brands, Apple, Samsung or any other companies, it is called evoked set. Finally, that customer need to narrow down to one brand to buy. Similarly, in a company, they cannot access all facilities. They should narrow down to one, isn't it? Finally, they need to implement the plan. They need to put the plan into action. They should do what is required to be done. For example, if there is a need for increasing the production of a car in Toyota, at that time company should focus on using more labor or using more machinery if there is a need. The next step is follow action. By planning, it is not ending there. We need to see whether planning is executed properly or not. Planning is done as per the schedule, and we should also measure the result of planning. And if there is a need for any corrective action, we need to control.